So, although it's very prevalent in the United States and the world, no health organizations specifically recommend it, although the CDC and the American Association of Pediatrics both support it as a decision, except the World Health Organization in the case of HIV or AIDS in sub-Saharan Africa. So, oops, I was wrong about what's next.
That's how we practice.
So, why is it so prevalent, despite the fact that there are not clear recommendations for it by medical organizations? These are a bunch of things that it is thought to help protect you against. UTIs particularly, if there are frequent UTIs within the first year of an infant's life, circumcision can actually be a medical treatment for that. It's also thought to lower your risk of STIs, penile cancer, other penile hygiene-related diseases, like palinitis, which is like a very common infection, and HIV and AIDS, which is probably the thing that has gotten circumcision the most attention recently. As you can see, this is a map of Africa with rates of circumcision and prevalence of AIDS. And what you should see here is that as circumcision becomes more prevalent, the spread of HIV becomes less prevalent. Some studies have shown that having male circumcision as a treatment strategy for preventing the spread of HIV is as effective as having a vaccine. So this has been one of the leading pushes of male circumcision in the world. But despite how prevalent it's becoming and these reasons for it, there's still a lot of controversy about whether this applies in developed nations, and there has not been a lot of study about the negative consequences, which is why we're going to talk about the effect on sexuality today. So in the past, male circumcision was definitely associated with curbing male sexual desires. Moses Maimonides is like a famous physician who wrote a lot about how male circumcision is like the treatment for how men act in society by curbing their sexual desires and curbing them as men. And recently, this has been studied in some population studies, but those studies tend to focus on the physical sexual difficulties as opposed to pleasure or whether the men are receiving different experiences. And there are a couple studies that we'll talk about that do show that there isn't a lack of sensitivity, but there's a general criticism of them in the field because they were conducted by the World Health Organization and other organizations that took part in spreading male circumcision as an HIV prevention, and they looked at participants who they had circumcised. So there's a lot of bias and conflating variables. So now we're going to talk about two recent studies that look at the effect of male circumcision on sexuality, and both of which find some pretty strong negative impacts. This study was done in South Korea. That's significant because South Korea only started practicing male circumcision with a high prevalence in the past 50 years. So it has one of the highest rates of adult male circumcision in the world. So this study looked at 373 men, but it was able to talk to 138 men who could compare their sexual experiences before and after circumcision. There were also 118 men who were uncircumcised and 87 who were circumcised but couldn't speak to their sexual experiences before. And those men all answered an 11-question survey that was a modified version of the brief male sexual function inventory, which is a commonly used survey to assess male sexual experience. Before I enter this, there was no significant changes in sex drive, erection, or ejaculation. But as you can see here, 48% of these men who had experienced sexual activity both before and after circumcision found that their masturbatory pleasure was decreased or worse after circumcision, while 8% found an increase and 44% found no change. So this is a pretty significant increase in lack of masturbatory pleasure, although it is important to note that you're talking about something that's not very prevalent being more prevalent as opposed to it being present in the majority of circumcised men. Similar findings with masturbatory difficulty. This survey question didn't have an in-between no change, it just had improved or more difficult or less difficult, and 63% found it more difficult and 37% found it easier. This again is saying that of men who found it more difficult, there's a higher prevalence once men are circumcised. And the last result from this study is sexual experience overall. 20% had less satisfying sexual experiences overall, while 74% had no change and 6% found it better. So overall, and when asked why it was worse, the most commonly cited reason was a loss of sensitivity. So when taken together, these results suggest that male circumcision does have negative influences on male sexuality, particularly masturbatory pleasure, masturbatory ease, and overall sexual experience. Now, I want to look at another study that was conducted that was not able to compare men who had had sexual experiences both before and after circumcision, but was able to also talk to women who had had circumcised and uncircumcised partners. So this study was conducted in Denmark. It was the first population-based study in Europe to look at the sexual consequences of circumcision. It's also significant it was in Denmark because only 5% of the population there is circumcised. So a majority of people were not. So it looked at 5,552, a pretty large number of responses to this survey, of which there were 2,573 men and 1,982 women, and 75 of those women were married to circumcised men, and 125 of those men were circumcised, so about 5% of each group. So they conducted this study by having interviews at the individuals' homes, which is also something that was uniquely possible in Denmark because they feel that there's a liberal attitude regarding sexual activity and a strong compliance with public health questionnaires, which is how this was presented. So they interviewed individuals at their homes and then gave them a self-administered survey about slightly more intimate parts of sexual experiences. They found the same median age at first intercourse and number of sexual partners across life, but they found some really important differences. So the greatest differences up here, as you can see, are male orgasm difficulty and female orgasm difficulty. There's also female incomplete sexual fulfillment and dyspareunia, which is just pain during sexual intercourse. The orgasm difficulty, I think, is the most important result. There's a large change in the percentages of people, but it's also by previous studies been associated with overall sexual satisfaction, overall marital satisfaction, and even morbidity. So other studies have shown that orgasm difficulty permeates sexuality in a very strong way. It's also important to say that these statistics were adjusted for age, cultural background, school attendance, religion, marital status, and household income, because all of those factors had previously been associated with these in other public health studies conducted in Denmark. So in conclusion, these studies both show that male circumcision does have negative impacts on sexual experience, particularly decreased masturbatory pleasure, increased masturbatory difficulty, increased orgasm difficulty, and increased female sexual difficulties in terms of dyspareunia and other physical sexual problems. It is important that further research is still needed to look at the effects of sexuality, and it's important to tie this back to some of the health benefits that may or may not exist that we were talking about at the beginning, so that individuals can make more informed decisions. And in talking about further research, this image is of an animal foreskin because we share foreskins with a large variety of animals, and there has been a slight lack of research at looking at why that might be or what the evolutionary reason might be, which I think might be informative in figuring out what its current benefits and drawbacks are to our moving